Hello. In the previous sessions, we have discussed the conditions for reversibility and irreversibility, and we concluded that all naturally occurring processes are irreversible in nature due to the presence of dissipative forces which we cannot eliminate completely. Now, even though a reversible process is purely an ideal abstraction or ideal concept, the concept is extremely useful for theoretical predictions and calculations. In this line, we have already seen that no engine is 100% efficient, since all the engines will be always rejecting some amount of heat to the low temperature reservoir, and 100% efficiency of an engine is actually not permitted by the second law of thermodynamics. Now, a theoretical engine was proposed by a French military engineer, Nicolas Léonard Sadi Carnot. Better, he is known as Carnot for us. In the year 1824, he proposed a type of reversible engine, because we have seen that the reason for reduction in the efficiency of a heat engine is due to the irreversible nature of the process, or due to the dissipative forces mainly. Okay, and so Sadi Carnot, in his particular book published in 1824, suggested a particular type of thermodynamic cycle which was later known as Carnot cycle, and he said that we can produce maximum efficiency in a heat engine if the heat engine is going through a certain type of processes which constitutes a cycle known as what? The Carnot cycle. So an engine that performs the cycle suggested by Sadi Carnot is later came to be just known as the Carnot's engine. So Carnot's engine, we can have the specific features. The main features of Carnot engine are one thing, remember that it's a theoretical engine. Okay, that was suggested only to keep a benchmark. Actually, it's not a real engine. It's not an engine that can be completely realized. It's a theoretical engine, or I can say it's a hypothetical engine. Remember, it's an idealization that always we have been telling. It's an idealization, because in practical things we always need to have a design, or we always need to have an aim to be attained. That is why we have what is known as prototypes. See, whenever a particular machine is designed, first of the thing is that it will have a design what is known as the prototype, and the prototype will be developed. So remember, a Carnot engine is a design, it's a theoretical construct, and this engine was designed in such a way that it will be having the maximum possible efficiency within the limits of second law thermodynamics. Okay, that's to be taken care of. What does mean maximum possible efficiency? It's not 100%. Remember, Carnot engine, even though it is an idealized engine, it is not having 100% efficiency, because 100% efficiency is not permitted by the second law of thermodynamics. So, accepting the limitation or obeying the constraints that is given by the second law of thermodynamics, or within the limitations of the second law of thermodynamics, a heat engine was designed, or the design of a heat engine was proposed by Sadi Carnot, which will be able to perform maximum efficiency. Okay, which will be able to convert heat into work with a maximum efficiency. Okay, and that is one thing to be taken care of. So it's a theoretical engine having maximum possible efficiency, right? And the speciality of this engine I have highlighted here in the third point, that it is a reversible engine. It's a reversible engine. Remember, all other practical engines that we have seen so far, whether it is an petrol engine or gasoline engine, or it is a diesel engine, or it is Stirling engine or steam engine, okay, all these engines are having some inherent irreversible processes associated with it, because there is always friction between the piston, the cylinder is conducting, so heat is always lost to the surrounding. So in order to overcome all those practical things, Sadi Carnot identified that the efficiency is reducing due to all those dissipative forces. So he suggested that the ideal engine should be a reversible engine. Means all the processes through which the working substance passes through during the cycle of operation should be reversible in nature. Means there should not be any dissipative forces that is present. There should not be any viscosity, or there should not be any friction between the piston and the cylinder. There should not be any turbulence. So all those problems are theoretically eliminated, and he dreamt of, actually, he thought of an engine. That engine is what is known as a Carnot engine. So it's a reversible engine, and the speciality is that this reversible engine is designed to be operating between two constant temperature reservoirs. Means there are only two reservoirs. As usual in the basic design of heat engine, we have got a high temperature reservoir and a low temperature reservoir, having temperatures, say that TH and TL or TC. But you know that when we discussed the working of a diesel engine, or we discussed the working of a gasoline engine, we have drawn the PV diagram. Hope that you can remember the PV diagram. So what is special about the PV diagram? The working substance was taken through a cycle of operations, which constituted, in the case of gasoline engine, you know, there was two adiabatic processes, one compression and one expansion, right? And there were two isochoric processes. Hope you remember the PV diagram. So we had something like this, so it goes like this, then it goes vertically like this, right? It is isochoric, then it was what, again adiabatic, and finally it was what, again isochoric. So these two were isochoric processes, and these two were adiabatic processes. So that is what we have seen in the case of gasoline engine, in the PV diagram. So I'm just representing this one. So here it is pressure we have taken, and here it is volume that we have taken. And in the case of a diesel engine, also you remember, the diagram was, or the PV diagram was consisting of two adiabats. We had two adiabats again. So one adiabat was like this, the adiabatic compression. Then instead of an isochoric process, we had an isobaric process. So here pressure. So it was parallel to the x-axis, isobaric process. Again we had an an adiabatic expansion, and followed by an isochoric compression, right? So these were the isochoric expansion, so the process were having two adiabats and maybe a combination of isobar and isochore. But remember, so we had actually four temperatures. So you remember that we had T1, T2, T3 and T4. We were discussing about four different temperatures. But in the case of this Carnot engine, we'll see that it's a reversible engine operating between two constant temperature reservoirs. Means there won't be many temperatures involved. The temperature involved will be T1 and T2 mainly. So that I'll explain it when we go to the the cycle of operation. Now one thing more. See, the working substance in a Carnot engine is nothing but 1 mole of perfect gas. Remember, it is a theoretical engine, and we suppose that the 1 mole of real gas, 1 mole of an ideal gas, perfect gas is otherwise known as ideal gas. So ideal or perfect, both mean one and the same here. So 1 mole of an ideal gas is considered to be the working substance of a Carnot engine. Remember, that's the thing. Now, as I told you, the cycle of operation consists of four different processes, and this four different processes are collectively known as the Carnot cycle. So one cycle, as usual, is consisting of four different processes, at the end of which the working substance will be brought back to the same initial state. So it is a cyclic process. The state will be the same. Now let's see what makes Carnot engine efficiency the maximum. So let's see what makes maximum. So as in the case of every engine, there will be a high temperature reservoir which will be naming it as what is the source. Let's name it as source. Remember, the source and sink are some layman's term, particularly used with respect to ideal cases. Okay, source, and this one is what? Sink. Okay, source and sink, low temperature reservoir. See, in every heat engine, during the cycle of operation, some heat will be absorbed from the high temperature reservoir. Is not a part of which is converted into work. So this is the work output, and the remaining thing is given to the or rejected to the low temperature sink. This is what is happening. So in the case of real engines like the petrol engine or the diesel engine, you'll see that large amount of heat absorbed from the source will be dissipated or ejected to the the sink. So in the schematic diagram what I have drawn here, you can just consider the thickness of the arrows proportional to the amount. So in the diagram, that's what we mean here. The thickness of the arrows in the diagram, you can just directly measure it proportional to the magnitude of the quantities. If you consider like this, you will have the idea. So you can see that in the case of ordinary engines, or real heat engines like a petrol engine or diesel engine, this much amount of the width, is not this much amount of heat is taken, suppose from the source, and you will see that this much, the width represents the magnitude. This much amount of heat has to be rejected to the, or it is always rejected to the sink, and you can see that only a very small portion, just not the thickness of the arrows, very small portion is actually getting converted into work. So we are seeing that the practical efficiency of heat engines is well below some 40%, right? So if some 1000 joules of heat is drawn from the source in a cycle, maybe 400 joules of heat is converted into useful work, and the 600 joules of heat is actually rejected to the sink. That goes we can say that it goes some wasted. It's in a sense it is wasted because we are not able to convert this 600 joules into useful work, which was our purpose of designing the engine. So maybe this is what is happening in the case of a real practical engine like diesel engine and the petrol engine. So say that this is some 400 joules. Now, what actually Carnot designed, Carnot thought of changing this proportion, changing the proportion of W and QL. I can say this is QL. He thought of reducing QL so that by law of conservation of energy, this W will be getting increased, because always you know that QH will be equal to divided between W and QL. So QL was very large. That was a problem with the common engines. So he thought of reducing this QL, thereby improving the amount of work. And by this one, of course, the efficiency eta, which was defined as the work output by heat input. So once you increase W, QH remaining constant, of course eta will be getting increase. So that is what is shown by the arrow curve here in the schematic diagram. It's only to understand what he thought of. So the so in the case of this particular Carnot engine, this one will be the output work. So you can see that the output work has got increased in magnitude. And how it is done? Because whatever thing is increased here, that should be reduced from somewhere else. Where it is getting reduced? It is getting reduced from the heat that was previously getting rejected. So these two areas, schematically speaking, these two areas should be same. So you can see that the heat that is rejected to the low temperature reservoir will be getting reduced. So this particular thing is now showing. Hope you understood what is the idea. So remember, in the case of Carnot engine, which is the idealized engine, there will be always some heat that is rejected to the sink. That's something very, very important. Never ever think that Carnot engine is not rejecting anything to the sink. Of course, it is always rejecting something to the sink, because we have already seen that any heat engine should be working in unison with the second law of thermodynamics, which says that there cannot be any engine which works with a single reservoir. There should be always two reservoirs. Now, what only we can design with the perfect design, what only we can control is that we can always control the amount of heat flow, or the division of heat flow into work and see the contribution to the low temperature sink we can control, thereby controlling the efficiency. And that was what proposed by Carnot. Actually, he was very young when he just published this particular ideology. And this Carnot engine has become the role model, or it became the benchmark for other designers later, so that they always try to improve their own engines. Large varieties of heat engines were being developed during the process of, or during the stage of industrial revolution. And all were having a benchmark. We should be able to beat the engine that is proposed by Carnot, and Carnot engine was always at the top. No heat engine was ever able to beat the performance of a Carnot engine, which was suggested by Carnot engine. And so what is the importance of this Carnot engine or Carnot cycle? That Carnot engine or Carnot cycle always motivated the designers of other heat engines, so that they can always go on improving their own engine design, thinking or trying to reach the idealization, which is what I can say the Carnot's engine, right? And actually this Carnot engine was or Carnot cycle, or the idea given by Carnot was in tune with the second law of thermodynamics. So due to the very revolutionary concept of the heat engine proposed by Sadi Carnot, he is often known as the father of thermodynamics, even though the thermodynamics is such a vast branch which was contributed by many a number of scientists. Due to the path-breaking idea that was proposed by Sadi Carnot at the very young age, Sadi Carnot is very often referred to as the father of thermodynamics. That's about the introductory thing on Carnot's engine. So remember, to conclude this one, a Carnot engine is a theoretical engine which is supposed to be having the maximum possible efficiency an engine can ever have. And the speciality of a Carnot engine is that it is a reversible engine. All the 4 different processes through which the Carnot engine is working, which is known as the Carnot cycle, will be reversible in nature. All processes are reversible processes, idealized processes, with devoid of any dissipative forces or dissipative just phenomena like friction and viscosity or turbulence. And it operates between 2 constant temperature reservoirs, right? And the working substance is 1 mole of an ideal gas. So we will see or we will discuss the different processes through which a Carnot engine passes through during the operation in the next session. Thank you.